Good morning, everybody. This is week 5 of our round the country tour ahead of the big elections that happen on May the 7th, and I'm touring England, Scotland and Wales relentlessly. But this morning, here in Warwickshire, I want to focus on a national issue and one that is of grave concern to the British public, and rightly so. As you all know, it was 5 years ago that I went out into the English Channel endlessly, filming the migrant boats coming, asking why there wasn't a proper national debate about something that I feared would lead to, and yes, I did use the word invasion. Well, we're just approaching 200,000 people that have crossed the English Channel, 70,000 since Keir Starmer became Prime Minister, approximately 5,000 already this year, and that, of course, has been during the coldest sea temperature months. As the big deal with the French came to an end, I did stand up in PMQs the other day and ask the Prime Minister, given the failure of Smash the Gangs, what was Plan B? And I got some answer to do with council tax in Worcestershire, so I got up and walked out. But what is clear is there are major security concerns about young men coming in from dangerous countries who willfully destroy their ID documents by chucking their phones and passports into the sea at the 12-mile line. There are also some quite big cultural concerns that many that are coming from countries where women are not even regarded as being second-class citizens has led to an upsurge in sexual violence. And of course, Nuneaton is just down the road from where I'm speaking today, where we recently saw the conviction of a man for raping a 12-year-old girl. There is not a single week that goes by when you do not see a story like this in the news. But there are, of course, some even more extreme cases, and the case of Rhiannon Whyte is perhaps the most shocking that we've seen to date. If you recall the incident, she was murdered by somebody who'd come from Sudan on a boat, stabbed 23 times in 90 seconds with a screwdriver. A genuinely horrific case. What strikes me about this case is I know people, we all know people, who've lost children, who've lost young adults, and it can be a sickness, it can be a car accident, a motorbike crash, and these things are horrible. But in many ways, what happened to Rhiannon Whyte was totally avoidable in every single way. In almost every single country in the world, if you enter illegally, you are banged up, in prison and deported. Somehow the European Union has got itself into a different place. We have been insisting now for years that we not only have to leave the ECHR, but that anyone that comes in the back of a lorry on a small boat is immediately detained and not free to walk the streets. I will now hand over to Siobhan White, who will tell us a little bit about what happened to her daughter, what the impact is on her family, and what her reflections are on it now. Thank you.
Yeah, Rhiannon was stabbed October 24 by a migrant who had been in this country 11 weeks. He had fled North Sudan for his own safety, apparently. We didn't know, Rhiannon didn't know him. She just worked in a hotel where she looked after them, basically. He took Rhiannon's life in 90 seconds. Stabbed her through the main brainstem, basically, was the main place that killed her. He has never shown any remorse. He called forensics liars. He just didn't care. He wouldn't tell us why. He just denied everything. So we've had to live with that. Why? Her little boy's been left without a mum. My children have been left without their sister. And I've lost my daughter. For these scumbags that are allowed into this country illegally, yeah, something needs to be done. They need to stop allowing them in, because if it's not Rhiannon, who next? And sadly, there's children, you know, young girls getting raped. When's the next murder? And a family having to go through what we're going through. Yeah.
It's all too real. Thank you for doing that. Very brave.
Thank you.
And very difficult. I fully understand. Well, I think those words are very powerful. Who next? And there is nothing being done to change any of this. There is no plan with the French, and it doesn't really matter how much money we send them because we've already given them £800 million to stop this since 2014. And I think cases like this genuinely outrage the British public, as they should. This murder, this death, was wholly unnecessary in every way. I'm going to open up now for questions on this subject and on any other, starting with Catherine Forster from GB News.
Thank you. The first duty of government is to keep its citizens safe. How do you feel the Prime Minister is faring, both in terms of people crossing the Channel and also our defence more broadly? And also, if I may, Nigel Farage, you want to be Prime Minister. If you were Prime Minister now, would you give America permission to use British air bases for attacks on civilian infrastructure in Iran that the US President is threatening? Thank you.
There's a lot there you've just asked. I mean, frankly, the people that are ultimately guilty for Rhiannon's murder are the British government. It's the British government who, despite massive public demand for something to be done, have seen absolutely nothing done. A previous government that promised they'd stop the boats, this government that said they would smash the gangs. I very fair isn't one of any kind at all. And so I personally blame the government. I think you feel the same way, don't you?
Starmer and the government, yeah.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get a clearer answer than that. Defence more generally, what defence? Took us 3 weeks and 1 day to send a single naval vessel in British sovereign territory in Cyprus. We also have 242 former members of British Special Forces now facing prosecution for what they did on operations going back in some cases over 50 years. Massive recruitment problems right throughout the armed forces, and a Prime Minister who himself has been directly engaged in the prosecution of former British servicemen. I would say our defence is in tatters. What has happened in the last few weeks should serve as a massive wake-up call. And I think the situation is absolutely dire. As far as America is concerned, well, we've refused permission to use the base. An RAF base was attacked anyway. Then the Prime Minister U-turned and said the Americans could use the bases, but for defensive purposes, whatever that in a situation of war may mean. I have a major, major worry that the relationship with America is looking very broken. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Biden in the White House. You know, we've got to face a fact, linking back to your previous question, that without America, we are virtually defenceless. So if I was the British Prime Minister, I'd say to Trump, what is the aim? What is the objective? What is the end game? What is the way out? And provided I receive satisfactory answers to those questions, I would say the continued use of our bases was the right thing to do. I think for us to finish up, breaking the alliance with America would put this country in very grave peril. And I certainly do not believe that a European Defence Force or a European army would be an answer in any way at all.